Cool. All right, Chris, we're now on the line with a gentleman that most of our fans will probably know. His name is Matt Rehwoldt. He is the Drama King. For some of you formerly known as Mr. Aiden English of WWE, but he's carving a new path now, and we got some new questions for him. So, Matt, first of all, thanks for taking the time. And how's your Monday going? You got a case on the Mondays, or are you in good spirits?
I'm not doing too bad actually. We were talking about before we got on the air. It's been kind of like a bunch of interviews and podcasts lately as things have started to pick up. I literally just got done with one about 30 minutes ago. So you guys are my second interview of the day already.
Yeah, those are great guys. Mike over at Windy City
Mike.
Slam is a great guy.
Yep.
And yeah, well, I'm sure we see him at shows all the time in the area. I'm sure we'll see him at the upcoming Zelo Pro show. And speaking of the last one that took place, Stronger Together, on August 15th, you had a little bit of interaction with someone. So took up this role as doing some ring announcing, opened the show, also on a commentary role, and then was later called out by a man named Brubaker. So we'll get to him, and we'll talk about everything that he's kind of stirring up with it, with his shenanigans. I wanted to first ask, do you enjoy that mixed role? It seems like you got a lot of versatility. So do you enjoy the mixed role of like commentary, ring announcing, wrestling, or do one or the other, or it's just like whatever they throw at you?
Yeah, I mean, man, the one thing I've said is I'm ready to do like anything, and that one of the things I learned doing commentary for WWE was, and one, I loved it a lot more than I thought. Two, it was a lot harder than it looks. There's a lot more to that job than I think people understand, and I took a lot of pride and pleasure in it. And so coming out of it into this and everything, it was like, let me do everything. I think I want to be a versatile performer. You can literally put me anywhere. And I'm not just serviceable. Like, I'm telling you, I'm good and I have fun doing it. And so, like, I want to explore all of it.
And you definitely have the voice for it. Like, let's not shy away from that. Like, and so coming into the commentary role, working with Jimmy D, a local guy, love him. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you go into, like, especially it's I guess, is it easier or harder in the sense of like you're coming into Zelo Pro and local Chicago wrestling promotion, well, Midwest promotion, but also we're coming back, kind of quote unquote coming back, right, from a pandemic and being shut down. So even like new storylines, and you have to connect old storylines together. Like, was there like, let's talk about the show, the flow of the show, and how everything was going to play out, just so you'll be, fully equipped to jump on that role?
Sure. And so that was something I kind of went back and forth with, and talking, you guys are right. Jimmy D is great. But I kind of went into that specifically. And I'm not saying I would do this at every single show. It all depends on the individual situation. But that one was my first appearance post WWE. I knew it was going to be part of a couple appearances I'm going to be making for Zelo Pro and everything. So I told Jimmy this. I'm like, I'm coming in as this outside superstar or whatever, outside performer.
Right.
I'm treating this as both a chance to commentate, and I looked up everybody on the card, obviously, but I wanted to speak as almost like scouting, right? Because here I am. I'm in this role. I'm not going to just be doing commentary. I am going to be potentially wrestling anybody on this card. Who knows? You know what I mean? So for me, it was both trying to be a good color analyst and commentator in the general aspect, but also I'm there as a performer, as a wrestler who's like, look, I'm looking at other wrestlers. I'm going to call it like I see it. I don't know all these people. I'm hoping to learn tonight and from that show. So it was kind of this like a mix of roles as opposed to just a straight up, color commentator or straight up wrestler. I kind of tried to combine those.
Cool. And speaking of wrestling, I want to ask, when is the last time you've been in the ring for a match? Is this going to be your first one? Like, is it going to be first one upcoming since leaving? I know that we following you a little bit, but I'm not sure how intertwined you are with other independent promotions, but is this going to be the first one in a while?
Yes. I mean, this will technically be the first match, like ding, 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 in the ring in about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Right after I started commentary, I did the Worlds Collide appearance at WrestleMania 35 in New York, and I had a match there. And after that, I didn't. And this will be the first one since then. I've had the chance to get in the ring and train, and I'm going to continue to do that over the next few weeks. Luckily, just to get that rust off and everything. But
Yeah.
this is the first one back in a while.
Cool. And so are you, I mean, are you just like, are you missing it? Like how bad are you missing it? Or what is that feeling like? Or it's just like something you're really, really looking forward to, you can't get your mind off of?
I mean,
Something like that.
I had said this because obviously when I started doing commentary on WWE, everyone would ask, like, are you hurt? Are you retired? Are you done? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I told everyone, I said, look, this is an opportunity that I'm taking advantage of that I want to explore, but never once in my head was I ever done. I always knew, I'm
Yeah.
like, one way or another, I'm getting back in the ring, whether short-term, long-term, I'm not done wrestling because I did very much miss it. And that's what I fell in love with from the beginning. So this hits me with both extreme excitement. I'm very much jazzed for it, but I'd be absolutely remiss if I didn't say there are some nerves in both good and intimidating ways. Again, it's been a year and a half, and not only am I just going in, I mean, a guy like Brubaker, he's a veteran around here. Again, I said it at the show. He was there when I was first breaking into the business.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean that as a shot. I just meant when I was first just knocking on doors in the Chicago scene, trying to find out what wrestling was about, he was there main eventing shows. So this guy's been around, so I have to bring my A game as well.
Absolutely. So your first impression of, since we're on the subject, your first impression of Brubaker, obviously there's respect, which you just said, but then when he kind of, started being himself a little bit more and running his mouth, did that first impression change, or is it still 100% respect in that sense?
I mean, you have to respect what's there, right? You have to respect the resume. You have to respect the ability. The guy who keeps himself in incredible shape. These are all admirable things. And you know what? I'll even respect somebody calling me out, right? That's what this business is built on. That's totally fine. Where it starts changing a little bit, is you see him. It's his lack of respect sometimes for the audience, for the younger guys on the roster. You saw it Stronger Together, just having his way with a couple of young guys trying to make their name and just,
Right.
for lack of a better term, abusing them. And that's where I kind of draw the line. And so that's the kind of attitude he's going to have to pay for on the 17th.
Great. What attracted you, besides it being in your hometown, why Zelo Pro?
Because they're one of the organizations that I had always been at least tangentially aware of. One of the independents that I've been aware of during my time with WWE. I know, obviously, again, a lot of it is tied to it being the hometown. So I know a lot of the guys around here, the guys from Freelance, or guys, I did a CSW show before I got signed. People like that. That community is pretty tight knit. And so I had heard a lot about Zelo since they started 3 years ago. And so I knew it was one of the groups that I wanted to work with once I got the chance. Again, I have a lot of pride tied up in being from Chicago and everything. So when they reached out for it to be my first appearance post WWE, I was very excited.
Cool.
When we talk about the next Zelo Pro show coming up, and you going up against Brubaker, how do we see getting pinned? Like, what is that finishing maneuver? Is there a new finishing maneuver that you're going to introduce? Are we going to be surprised? What are we looking forward to here?
I mean, one thing, look, matches can end a lot of ways. Let's not forget that. There is pinfall, there is submission, there is 10 count, there's knockout, there's disqualification. And I don't know what's going to happen when I get in the ring with this asshole. You bleep it if you have to. But who knows how it's going to finish exactly. So got a couple of things. It's not really so much that I've invented anything new. Nobody invents anything new in wrestling, let's be honest.
Sure.
But there might be one or two things that maybe my time on television, I wasn't given the opportunity to show. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'll leave a little bit of mystery on the table. But hopefully, you'll see a little bit more to the Drama King than you've seen in the last couple of years.
Okay.
Awesome. And it really does feel like a new beginning, a new chapter. Right. I don't know if that's intentional on your part, but just following you and seeing – I mean, Little Impressions just says like your pinned tweet has all your booking information, and then like you talking to other podcasts and people we know. It does seem like a new chapter, a new run. So with this new run, is there any sort of particular like creative fulfillment or particular like mindset you're bringing into this? Because we've seen some people come in from Zelo before that have been where you've been. And someone in particular is your former partner, Simon Gotch. And his mindset was, I want to work with someone younger. And then him and Pat Monix, who's no longer wrestling anymore, but he was a young guy, old guy that had a really good feud. So with this new run on the independent scene, do you have a certain mindset or a certain creative fulfillment? Like, these are some things I really want to do, or is it just more go with the flow?
I mean, it's a little bit of both. I mean, you got to be go with the flow to a certain degree, especially the way things are right now. Who knows how month to month things are going to go? I mean, everything may get shut down in a couple months. But for me, it's about, for the most part, I want to tell stories. I want a chance. I'm coming out of here. I'm coming out here in a more confident position than when I first started wrestling, right? And in that time with WWE, a lot of the time you don't have, for lack of a better term, you don't have a lot of influence in how the story goes, right? You can kind of try to pitch your ideas or, suggest, to creative, but whoever runs the show runs the show. Out here, there's a little bit more freedom in a lot of the independent stuff, and I can maybe have a little bit more input into that. And not to say I want to be like writing the cards and writing the show. That's not it at all. It's just more confident in telling the stories I want to tell. I want to do that. It's not about me coming out and busting out 800 new moves. It's about telling good stories with a lot of talent who I never would have gotten the chance to in any other way.
Great. Yeah, and Zelo does they do a great job of allowing people the time to do that. I mean, we cover like 6 different promotions here in the Chicagoland scene. They're all good at the really different things. Like we said when we emailed you, we believe wrestling is a buffet. So what do you like from each promotion? You can have that. You can go over here and get this. You can go over here and get that. What Zelo Pro does is they allow people, and especially like maybe singles matches, to have that amount of time to tell that story, to fully tell that story. So we've no doubt that you'll have the opportunity to do that with a Mr. Brubaker. There was a couple personal things because we couldn't help ourselves. Chris had a question about one of I believe we think it's your show, but Chris, do you want to ask the?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about wrestling as a buffet, and one of the things that I enjoy is whiskey, and I seen wrestling with whiskey. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of this passion side project that grew kind of randomly, but organically a couple of years ago. I just wanted to, as I put it, drink like an adult. I was done, partying and just shooting back like shots and everything like that, or whatever. That scene just didn't appeal to me anymore. But I wanted to enjoy a drink. And so my dad was always a Scotch drinker, drinking, like Scotch neat and stuff like that. So I'm like, how the hell do you do that? And I kind of, for lack of a better term, trained myself to do that with a chaser and a drink, and like until I no longer needed the chaser. And I discovered the world of whiskey, like there is with wrestling. There's fans and blogs and YouTube shows and podcasts, all dedicated to whiskey. There's a niche for everything out there. There's a community for everything. Right. And the one I found in whiskey was just very engrossing, and it just kind of exploded from there.
So is this this is a YouTube channel, right? Mm-hmm. And then I believe that there's also going to be there's about to be a Patreon associated with it.
So there is one. I've had one kind of on and off. I was doing some little extra content, but the project I've always wanted to do, but I kind of hadn't been able to do until just now, was starting a single barrel club through Patreon. So what that, again, I won't go into the long, but basically, there's a long tradition in America. Single barrels of whiskey can be very unique to each other, even if they're sitting in the same warehouse or whatever. It's amazing how different they can be. That's something I've learned. And so there's a kind of a trend of groups or stores. You're able to go buy your own individual barrel, which is usually a couple hundred bottles. And it's the only barrel of its kind, the only thing that'll taste exactly like that. Okay. Jack Daniel's is made up of 10,000 barrels per batch. So that tastes the same every time. But this barrel will only taste like that. So I want to go, and I'm partnering with a store here in Illinois, and we're going to buy barrels, and then people in the club will have a chance to buy them, and it'll be like our own individual barreled. Again, unique to us. Nobody else can get access to that. So it's just kind of my way of expanding my own knowledge and passion and palette, and then also bringing that to a lot of other people.
Sign me up. I'm getting thirsty, and I know it's just 1:00.
Yeah,
Hell
I
yeah,
got.
man. Join us.
Yeah, easy, man. I have to answer emails after this, so everyone take it easy. Cool. Are you Cubs or Sox fan?
So I'm not a big baseball guy, so I've never
Okay.
been super emotional either way. But that being said, I can't stand Wrigleyville on a game day. And my family grew up on the South Side, so I got to go Sox.
Okay, cool.
There you go.
No,
any other sports?
Yeah.
So I was a huge Bulls fan growing up.
Okay.
I was the kid, we driving around shooting fireworks out of the car after the NBA championship win, stuff like that. Bears was like, hey, Godspeed to them if they do well. But mainly a Bulls kid growing up, and I was a bit into the Blackhawks a bit in high school because I used to work at a hockey rink. So I got into hockey for like 3 years really randomly.
Cool.
Awesome. One day I'm gonna get somebody to say Chicago Fire.
Good luck.
I'm a lonely soldier on that one.
Oh man. No, I hear Wrigleyville can be overwhelming. I'll never ever live there. I only visit there. It's like visiting an amusement park. You just go there and you're just like, okay, how can we leave as soon as possible? Even though I'm a Cubs fan, but it's just outside of a pandemic, it's way too many bros and it's just way too much. So we'll leave it at that. Cool. Chris has prepared word association.
Right. So in a normal, in a time where we would have more time with you, we would put you through the wrestling buffet line, which would indicate that we had a salad bar section, a hot plate, and a dessert. This is usually the dessert portion, right? Where it's just some fun, and we basically do word association, which rules to that is I'm going to say something, and the first word that comes to mind is what you shout out. Are you ready?
One word answers.
One word answers. It's only a few. I think it's 6 or 7 here. All right. So the first one is Chicago.
Fire.
Yes.
That's it. We can close it down. We don't need to go through the rest of them.
For it.
All right. Twitch.
Game.
Wrestling with whiskey.
That counts.
Zelo Pro.
Best in Chicago. I know one word, but sorry.
Brubaker.
Douche.
Wrestling.
Amazing.
That's it.
It was really
That's
good.
all.
I like the douche.
Good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I hope this was the most enjoyable 20 minutes of your media run. Probably not, but it was really great to talk to you. And yeah, it felt natural. It felt normal. So September 17th is the upcoming Zelo Pro show, wrestling on Weed Street. The Drama King versus the Filth King. We're cheering for you. We hope you kick Brubaker's ass. We've seen him get stink face before. It's always enjoyable. Brubaker is a staple here, but he's a staple that he's a staple that needs to be turned into a punching bag. And so
touche. Happy to do it too.
Great. So all safety precautions are going to be in place, mask, et cetera, limited attendance, and hopefully we get to see you there as well. Before we go, we'll have all the links and everything for Zelo in the description /article on twodealsontheface.com. Before we go, anything else you want to say or promote, or just in your mind?
I mean, no, just we say Drama King Matt. You can find me. That's my main social media presence on Twitter and Instagram. But Wrestling with Whiskey is also out there. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Just search Wrestling with Whiskey and you will find.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I'll definitely be looking at that Patreon page later.
Hell yeah, man.
All right. Thanks for your time, Matt.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much.
Bye.
Take care.